Dave Parody here with another slide makeover video podcast based on the ideas in my book, The Visual Slide Revolution. Today's slide comes to us from a subscriber to the newsletter, or somebody who's watching the video podcasts, and they sent it in. They said, we're doing some training and these slides are just not really very exciting. What can we do? And this slide is very typical of a lot of training slides. Let's take a look. Here is our slide, and it comes to us from a soccer organization, and they're training coaches. And it looks, unfortunately, it just doesn't look very appealing. Here's some of the issues that I find with it. First of all, it looks like it's from a manual, and in many training situations, this is exactly what we're having to do. We're having to impart information that has been contained in some sort of printed documentation or manual. And unfortunately, a lot of the slides look like we just copied the text right out of the manual, and people check out because they're reading ahead and they're not listening to what you're looking at, what you're trying to say to them. The other thing I found here is there's a very distracting background image. It's kind of a shaded or watermarked image in the background there. The challenge with that is every time that you have a background image, people are trying to figure out what it is. It's not really apparent, but they still try to figure out what it is. And every time they're spending attention or energy trying to figure out the background of your slides, that's the energy and attention taken away from what you are trying to deliver in your message. So we really want to keep our backgrounds more neutral, not having the distracting images in the background. And when I first looked at this slide, I was struggling to find what the key point was. What are we trying to get across to our coaches more than anything else with this one slide about working with young athletes? So I studied this for a while. I think there is a key point, and let me show you the slide that I created to replace this one. Coaches, really the key thing is to help your players enjoy the practices and the games with the encouragement that you give them. Our players want to enjoy their practices and games, so make them enjoyable, make them fun when you set up a practice, when you're in the game situation. Organize both practices and games so that every single athlete has an opportunity to develop themselves and develop a positive self-worth through how you speak to them, how you encourage them on the field. And provide positive encouragement, not just for accomplishments, but also for mistakes, because how else will they learn? We need to set up a positive atmosphere that's going to help all of our players enjoy every time they're with us, whether it's a practice or a game situation. So you notice how what I did here is I took the key message, which is, coaches, we need to encourage our players, our athletes, to enjoy what it is that they're doing when they're with us, whether it's a practice situation or game situation, and reinforce the three key ideas that we wanted to reinforce with our coaches. Now the challenge comes when you're looking at these sorts of slides, training type slides. And by the way, the images here were taken from the AYSO website. They have some great images. So again, use the images that your organization already has to make the ideas embed with people, because it hits their emotions. Because they're seeing the soccer players, they're seeing themselves as coaches, and they're remembering how much they've enjoyed that experience. The challenge with training type slides is that sometimes we confuse slides with a handout. And let me make sure I understand, or get you to understand the difference here. Slides are visuals that is going to encourage discussion. They help us to get the point, and they add to what we're saying. They are for display purposes only, and that's the presentation, the discussion that you're having. Handouts are different. Handouts are a place for people to take notes and a way for them to remember what you said, something for them to refer to later on. And this is the big point where people say, but Dave, I need a ton of detail on my slides because they are going to be used as references later on. So I need them to have all of those details. So I put it on my slides and I use the slides as my handout. Well, I think there's a better way. The better way is to use hidden slides that allow you to add detail to a slide file and therefore to your handout, but not detail to the screen. So here's what you do. You have some slides that are in your slide file which has a lot more detail, but you hide those detailed slides. What that hiding does is make sure they don't show up during your presentation. They don't show up during your presentation, great, but how do people see them? Well, when you print your handout, you print it using the option that says Print Hidden Slides. Now what happens in your handout is that people get the display slide they're going to see and the detailed handout that they can refer to later on. Also, when you email it, because many of these presentations are going to be emailed or posted to the web for others to download. Both the display slide and the detail slide are in the file so that everybody can review it and see it. So that's a great technique. If you don't know how to use this technique, just go to the website, thinkoutsidtheslide.com, take a look at the short how-to videos, and there's a video specifically dealing with this. If you want more information on the training that I do, the consulting, books, videos, you can go to my websites, www.visualsliderevolution.com or www.thinkoutsidtheslide.com. Thanks a lot. I'm Dave Parody, and we'll see you next time.